Hello everyone. Hello everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. I hope everybody can see me, can see us, and can see the screen. And most important is that you can hear me. Thank you for taking the time and for joining our second Trimble Geospatial Monitoring Power Hour. The topic of today is how you can use your total station data for analysis and real-time monitoring in Trimble 4D control. Before we start, I would like to quickly introduce myself. So my name is Christian Adenschein. I'm based out of Munich in Germany. My background is surveying and geomatics. I graduated back in 2009 and I've joined Trimble in 2011. For the biggest part of my time with Trimble, I've been working as a product manager basically since 2014. And during the last years, I was mainly responsible for our automated real-time monitoring software, Trimble 4D Control. Lately, I'm also looking into or after our monitoring app of Trimble Access and the setup M1. As you can see here, today I also have a co-presenter.
Hello.
It's Roland Chen. Roland, maybe you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, as Christian said, my name is Roland. I'm one of our technical support engineers for all of the monitoring products. That's the T4D and the total stations and the setup M1, kind of everything in that region. I also work with a lot of our real-time networks. So like if you guys are familiar with Trimble Pivot platform and all of the GNSS receivers for that one. I've been with Trimble for the last 3 and a bit years. And I got my degree from the Colorado School of Mines in geophysics.
Thanks, Roland. All right, then let's have a look at the agenda. So I will start today with an introduction to the topic, and then we will have a look on a real time, on a live system basically, and we will also do a little demo. Afterwards, I will point you to some available resources, and last but not least, I will also give you an outlook on the upcoming webinars. And I really hope that we still have some time at the end to answer your questions. It doesn't mean that that you can only raise questions at the end of this webinar. This is an important note. So if you have any questions during the webinar, please just type them in the chat window, and we will try to address them as we go. In case we don't get to your question, we will try to follow up afterwards. Okay. So if we look at the slide, the total station data flow, so you have the following situation. You have a total station, a Trimble S-series instrument, and you would like to use this total station data with Trimble 4D control. As you might remember from the last webinar, and also as I mentioned it earlier, so Trimble 4D control, again, short T4D, is our real-time monitoring software. And it is the core of any monitoring project. During the last webinar, we explained, Eric and I last time, we explained and demonstrated how you can connect a total station to T4D. And for that purpose, we recommended using the setup M1. The setup M1 is this gray device next to the total station on this slide. The M1 is designed to work with Trimble 4D control. It controls and manages the total station, and thus it ensures an uninterrupted and continuous data flow. On the T4D side, the last time we did all the geodetic configuration. So for example, we did the station setup, we defined our backside points, and I think we also configured the coordinate system. So so this was Trimble 4D server, and in addition to the server component, T4D also has a very powerful web interface. The web interface allows to visualize your monitoring project and provides a nice overview in real time. In T4D Web, you can do real-time analysis, you can configure reports, and you can also configure alarms, for example. So basically, it allows you for a quick assessment, and yeah, it provides decision support, right? So that's T4D Web about. And again, so this is the topic of today. Today, we want to use our data from the last webinar again. So you remember maybe, and for those who were not in the last webinar, so we set up a really simple, or we did a really simple site setup with just 3 targets. We did it in colleagues' living room, just with distances up to 5 meters. So it was not a really realistic example, but still we want to continue using these data today. We want to use the data in T4D Web. But before Roland will demonstrate how to make use of these data, I will first walk you through the web application and highlight some of the main features. And for this purpose, we will look at one of our demo sites. And for this, I will switch. This is how it looks like. So this is the landing page basically. I can also maximize this here, and I will log in as an administrator. So I sign in, and this is now how the web application looks like once you're signed in as an administrator. So there are different functional areas here that you can see both here and also at the top menu. And of course, I mean, I cannot go into the last detail today, but again, I would like to walk through the most important areas. So let me start with the custom view, because the custom view also nicely shows the installation we are talking about here. So this is an installation which is deployed, or which is located close to Cape Town in South Africa. As you see, it's about a dam monitoring system, and the system is hosted and maintained by our distribution partner, Optron. So a big thank you to Optron, and special thanks also to Cobus Burda, who made it possible that I can show the system now. Okay, if you look at the image here, you already see there are a couple of icons. This monitoring system, yeah, consists of all kinds of different sensors. There are GNSS sensors involved, geotechnical sensors, like here on top of this hut here on the forefront of the image. There is also a temperature sensor, for example, and yeah, it has also a lot of different targets that are involved, prism targets that are measured by a total station, which is also located in this hut here. The prisms are mounted into horizontal rows at a different height along the dam, and they are named upstream targets and downstream targets. So yeah, this is the situation, but know that not all the sensors are configured to be visualized at this custom view. So that's why you only see a subset of all available sensors in the system here. Okay, so I guess anyway, you have now realized what a custom view is about. It's basically for a context visualization. The image can be a schematic plan, for example, but it can also be just an image or a photo, like in my example. And the nice thing here is, so if you hover over the targets, you see the latest observations, or you can also configure the system in a way that it not just shows the latest observations, but also a chart, for example. Right, like here. Now you can see latest temperature reading was 28.5 degrees Celsius, and beneath it there is a nice chart. So this is something you can do here. And let me go to the maps view. right? So it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same idea here. So the sensors are visualized on top of a geographic terrain. This time, yeah, it's not a static image, a photo. This time, it's a standard map provider like Google or Microsoft Bing is it at the moment in my example. But you can also use Google Maps, or you can use a georeferenced image, or you can also add a WMS layer for your visualization here. So what you see here, basically, this is a top-down view of the dam. So this is the dam, right? And in this example, you see a lot of icons with 3 dots. When you see 3 dots in T4D Web, this means that there are different sensors co-located at the same position. And therefore, I will just apply a filter to my view. So I will filter for the target positional sensors. And I'm also interested only in the downstream prisms, for example. So if I apply this filter to my view, you see suddenly the icon changes and I can only see my downstream targets here. I've already shown you. So if you hover over the icon, you see the latest observation again, for example. Another functionality which is available at the maps view is very nicely you can, for example, show your 2D displacement vectors like here. I can also disable the sensors, so it's even better now. So you see everything is in green, and this one is in red, probably because we have a displacement here of 7 centimeters, and yeah, the displacements shown here are color coded, and yeah, it basically represents the severity of the displacements, and yeah, you also see the scale up here, which is customizable. Another thing you can do here is you can, for example, you can also enable the heat map, but it's not very nice here because the prisms are not distributed like in a grid. If you have prisms that are distributed in a grid, you can really show a very nice heat map view. Okay, so what else you can do here? You can also use the map to, for example, kickstart an analysis. And as you can imagine, the analysis section is one of the most important areas of T4D. It allows you to visualize observations from different sensor types, which means you can, for example, combine sensor data from a prism target with readings from a temperature sensor. And yeah, let me just give you an example. This is what I would like to demonstrate now. So if I just specify a polygon around my 3 prisms here, they show up here in my current selection. You see I have 3 prisms, DS, downstream 3, 4, and 5. And here there are a couple of action items. And as said, I would like to give you an example how you can create an alarm. Okay, so if I click on this one here, you see this is already predefined here. There is a lot of analysis definitions in here already. And the name here by default is sensor selection 1. I can rename this into webinar, for example. And yeah, the default date range now here is 1 week. So from the 13th of May to the 21st of May. And down here you see I have an analysis series consisting of 3 sensors, the 3 sensors I have previously selected on the maps page. Still, let me go in here. This all looks fine to me, but I'm not interested in this one. Let's say I'm interested in the displacement in the 2D direction, for example. And I would like to present my data not in meters but in millimeters, because I actually don't expect too much movement. And at the moment, it doesn't still make a lot of sense to visualize it, because I said I would like to combine data from different sensor types in one chart. I mean, this is one nice example what you can do with an analysis here. And this is why I will add another series here. So I will, for example, add the temperature sensor, which I said earlier is located at the hut. You could see on the custom view. And yeah, here I will just plot one value per hour, for example, and I would like to present this in green, for example. So done. And then I can view my analysis. Looks like this. You see the green line. This is the one shows the temperature values. There is really a spike. This is during the day. You see 12 p.m. and the lows here. So this is during the night. At the moment, it doesn't really say a lot. Let me maybe disable 2 of the 3 targets. And here you now nicely see, although there is not a lot of movement, we are really in the millimeter range here. We have a 2D displacement of my target DS5 up here, which really follows the temperature. So there is a nice way how you can analyze data, and this is an example to demonstrate that the 2D displacement really correlates with the temperature change. Right, so this is something I wanted to show you, but there is not just the chart analysis type available in T4D Web. You can also do, for example, a cross-section analysis view. And I see there's one configured already here, downstream prisms cross-section. Let me show you this one as well. So if you look at this chart here, so you can maybe think of a top-down view of the dam, if you will. The main difference compared to the analysis we were looking at a minute ago is the bottom axis here. You see that? This time it's not about the time. This time it's about distances. And basically this chart here does not show multiple timestamps as with the previous analysis. Here it shows multiple prisms. Here is DS1, DS2, DS3, and so on, up to DS8. And this is, for example, a very nice feature if you want to, analyze seasonal behaviors of your dam. You can move the time slider here like this. You see that, and you can also pin, for example, a specific date. Then you can go ahead, you can pin another date, or you can also say you would like to pin a date automatically, like every week, every month, every 3 months. And this is really a nice way of analyzing like how the crest of your dam is moving over time. What else can you do? So if you look up here, so a scatter plot. Scatter plot is another possibility of T4D to analyze data and to visualize changes in positional observations. So if I open DS1, which is my downstream target 1 again, you see there are two planes, basically 2 planes side by side, and yeah, this is very useful if you want to look at a movement in a particular plane. You can also change the axis here. So here I could, for example, change this one to, whatever. This doesn't really make sense because now I have just a line. It's the same selection here and here, right? But I mean, the bottom line is that you can show 2 different planes next to each other side by side, and you can also narrow the date range by dragging either one or both of the slider handles here. You see that if I move them, points are getting less or more. And I can also move it like this. So this is a really nice way of analyzing data. Another feature of T4D is the composite view, what I would like to show you. So here you can really display different components as a dashboard view, for example. Like in this example, we see a chart. This is a chart of a GNSS receiver. This is an extract of the system status overview. And here on the right side, again, this is our custom view we were looking at earlier. And why is this useful? A dashboard view is in particular useful if you, for example, think about a control room environment where you have large screens, big screens, and you really would like to visualize different analysis, different charts at just one single monitor. So here you could, for example, create a nice custom view and visualize it on a single screen. All right, so the next section here, it's something for one of the following webinars. The alarms is pretty much the most important section in here in T4D Web, or at least one of the most important sections. I will not go through it now because this is exactly what Roland will demonstrate to you in a minute. So I will skip the alarm section for now again, but it will come in a minute. And logs and system status reports, again, this is, I don't want to go into these sections now. I will cover this or we will cover this in one of the following webinars. The last thing I would like to show you here is the accounts area, account management, basically. So you must imagine that typically in a monitoring project, there are different stakeholders, different people that are involved with a monitoring project. Like there are people that actually maintain the system, that add new sensors to your web application, for example. But there are also other people that are just interested in receiving reports, for example, or get an understanding of the high-level system status. And that is why T4D allows to add new users and to set different roles, right? So if you want to add a new user, you basically type in the email address and some contact information, first name, last name, and here you can specify the role. So if you want to add someone as an administrator or as an analyst who has reduced permissions compared to an administrator, or just as a guest. A guest has basically viewing rights. You can connect to the web application, but you can only view things and not create a new analysis or something like that. Yeah, so you see there are a couple of pre-defined roles: admin, analyst, and guest. City of Cape Town, this is something Optron has here configured, and SRK, don't know what SRK is for, but it doesn't really matter. The bottom line here is that you can really create customized roles. And so here you see a nice, I will call this one webinar, for example, say save. And then here there is a nice matrix, and then you can really put together the permissions and call the role, like here in my example, webinar, that you can then in turn assign to a particular user in the next step. So this feature really makes it possible to make exactly the information available to a user that he's interested in, or she, right? Okay, and with that, I would like now to hand over to Roland, but maybe, I'm not sure, Roland, have you followed the questions? Are there any questions I can maybe answer right away before you continue with your demonstration?
Yeah, I've been answering a few questions in the queue.
Okay.
I guess one question we got that's pretty important would be, is there like a webcam functionality in T4D Web?
Yes, there is. It's located next to map custom views. So here you also see there is a webcam section. Unfortunately, I think on the system there is no, oh, there is one. Yeah, okay, we have some port conflicts here. But it, if you remember the custom view here, it would actually be very nice to have a webcam, because that would also allow you to see the water level of the dam. So yeah, it is possible. It's fully supported. You can connect an external webcam, and you can maybe place it here on top of that hut to view your dam, and then yeah, you have always a real-time view of the situation or what's going on your monitoring site.
Great.
Is there any more question, any other question, or think you have already answered all of them?
Yeah, I've been able to answer most of them, keep up. A few of them we'll probably address later on, just some administrative stuff, but yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right. So then, Roland, I will make you a presenter.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, so now you should be able to present.
All right, thanks, Christian. Cool. So after we have now a better understanding of what T4D Web looks like and what all the different pages do, we can go through and actually we'll set up a new project, and I'll show you guys kind of what the alarming looks like in T4D Web. So this is an existing project we have set up at our Westminster site. So the first thing we're going to want to do actually for this is just create an entirely new project. So we'll go to the project management page. Similar to the account management page, we'll just go to administration and then to projects. And once it loads, sometimes the pop-up blocker will get it, but we'll just try again. There we go. And so in T4D Web, we have the ability to create as many different projects as we like. A different project is really important if you're running like different sites. And so if you have total stations set up, let's say where I'm based in Denver, and you also have one set up in Munich, like we do all the time in our team, you can come in and organize it by different project sites. It's also really useful if you're like an engineering firm or a surveying firm, because you can come in here and you can manage different sites that you're running for different customers. And based on the customers, you can give them different access level. You can have different analyses set up, different reports, all depending on what your deliverables are. So to create a new project, it's pretty simple. All we're going to do is come in and hit this green icon, this little plus arrow. And we'll call this something simple like webinar demo. And we can give it a short description if we want, but I'll just leave that blank. We can also choose the time zone. We'll just leave this in UTC. And we can come through the unit preferences and change it, for example, from metric to imperial or vice versa. I'll hit save to create the project. And you can see it show up here on the project listing page. There are a few different icons. So the first icon right here with the little briefcase will just tell you which project is active. So if I want to toggle between the two projects just in the manager page, I can click between this, but we'll stay on this project for now. This little target icon or crosshair icon tells us if we're using the same coordinate system in T4D control server, which is the other side of the software that we went over in the webinar a few weeks ago. You can go into T4D server and change the reference frame and coordinate system. And if you do that, these web projects will stay in the coordinate system that they were created in, and you'll see this icon turn yellow to just let you know that it's kind of out of sync. We can also edit the current project. So if I created this project and I want to come in and either change the name, add a description, or change the units, I can do that at any time. Cool. So the next step after creating a project is syncing data with T4D server. T4D server is the processing engine behind everything, and it's possible to have multiple total stations, multiple setups going into one place. And so we need to tell T4D Web which data we actually want to sync. So you can see in the Westminster demo site, we have 12 sensors. And in the webinar demo site here, we have 0 because we have none configured right now. And so we have this selected as our current project. And I can either add sensors one at a time through the sensors page from the home screen, or I can come in from the admin page, go to the project manager page, and add multiple sensors. And so that's what we'll do just for an example right now. The first thing we're going to need to do is just tell it which kind of sensors we want. For this project, we only have kind of one kind of sensor available. When you're adding multiple sensors, you can really only add from total station and terrestrial targets. You can't add, for example, like a bunch of different geotech gateways or a few GNSS receivers at once. But for targets, it's a great feature. It's also like target displacements. It's going to automatically tell me the only data type available is target displacements or terrestrial displacements. So leave that selected. Next, we'll go to the data source. And these are going to be all of the integrity monitors in our T4D server. And so you can see our T4D server has a few different ones set up. And the one I set up for this purpose is web demo. So now that I have the integrity monitor selected, I can go to target and tell it exactly which targets I want. We have a few targets set up, but for the sake of this demo, we turned off a lot of them just so that we can save some time when we're running the rounds. And so all the targets that are active right now are the reference points and target 3. The reference points are going to show no displacement, so I'm not going to really bother with importing those. But you can see we can select multiple targets. We can select all targets. It makes it very easy to tell it which exact targets you want. And so I'll do target 3, and we'll import the history here to let it backfill data from the last couple of days was running. You can also see that data has been available since yesterday, the 19th. This is going to be whenever you set up your T4D server. So if you set up server and run out of time, or don't want to set up web right at the same time, or if you want to just wait for some reason, you can have data available as far back as a year, and it'll still import. It might just take a long time. So now that I have all of that selected, I can go to the axis rotation. If I want to align the northing and easting bearing of the project with some different azimuth, like let's say that we're using a local coordinate system or a real world coordinate system that has a true northing and true easting, but we're monitoring the movement of a wall, for example, and the wall runs at a 35-degree angle to north. We can do a manual input here and just say we want a rotation angle of 35 degrees. And that way we have a radial and tangential displacement vector that is aligned with the actual wall and not just with some with northing and easting, so we don't have to do any math or thinking to know what is falling which direction. We can also choose a bearing between two different points. So if we know that, for example, target 1 starts on the one end of the wall and target 7 is on the other end of the wall, it'll give us an automatic rotation. But for now, we'll do no rotation. And I'll hit next, and it'll tell us the summary. We're adding 1 sensor with no rotation angle. So I'll go ahead and hit save. Perfect. And you can see that this little icon says the backfill is in progress. And so while that's going, we can go through and answer a few questions. Christian, do you see any questions that need addressing?
Yes, so there is one question which is relatively easy to answer, I guess. So the question is if this is the last version, because the version, I don't know who was it who asked the question, doesn't really matter, looks differently. So yes, the answer is yes, this is the last version. And yeah, if there are some functionalities not available on your version that we have demonstrated, yeah, then this is version 5.0 and the latest version, and could be there is something not available on 4.5 or 4.6. So this was one question. Another question was around coordinate systems. We haven't actually talked about coordinate systems yet today. So this was more something we have covered last time, but still, I mean, in the web project here, you basically use the coordinate system that you have specified on the T4D server side, right? And you can use a specific coordinate system. You specify this in T4D server, as I said. We have full support for the coordinate system manager, as you might know it from TBC, for example. So you can do a default local coordinate system, of course, but you can also select any public coordinate system which is officially supported, or yeah, which is out there. And you can also do a site calibration, so that's also possible. So all of this is supported. And yeah, you want to continue, Roland, or you're still?
Yeah, I can continue. I think there are a couple of questions that'll get answered as we move forward too.
There are still some questions about resources, but I will come to that in a couple of minutes. Yeah. So.
Cool. So even while the backfill is going, it's filling in. I think we took rounds every hour for the last day and a half or so, so it's going to have a little bit of data to pull from T4D. But even while the backfill is going, we can still go to the home page and view some of the sensor information. Perfect. So now we're back at the home page. You can see in the project listing page now both are created, and I have these. And you can see I have 1 target now, and everything is okay. So if I go to the sensors page, it'll show me a list of sensors in the project, which for this one is just target 3. And I can see some more information about what's been pulled in. Perfect. So you can see the latest observation down here. We have a no change in height and a very small change in the 2D displacement with a very good sigma. And we have a few different options. And so One of the things I can do is I can add just a quick comment about the target. So here in the notes section, I can hit the edit icon and then start typing. And so for this one, we'll just call it sensor 3. And because we're doing an alarm demo, I can say that it might move. And I also have the option to upload an image of the sensor. So if I click the plus icon here, I can just drag and drop a photo of the sensor. And this is going to be really nice if you have sensors that are in a strange area or have some sort of pertinent information about it and you want to upload a photo to remind yourself what the installation looks like. And so if you're seeing potentially weird displacements or missing data or anything like that, you can come and reference the photo and go, oh, right, it's because sometimes trucks park in front of this target. So I can hit save and that'll upload the photo. And then we just have some easy ways to view more information. I think there was a question earlier about kind of what the reference coordinate is or how T4D is pulling displacements, whether that's from the first epoch or the first measurement, or if that's from the previous measurements. And we can actually change that to be whatever we want, really. In T4D control server, all of the displacements come from the change from the measured coordinate to the reference coordinate, so the first available observation. But in T4D web, we can hit this little configure reference date icon here. And we can tell it to do the project default, which is going to be from the reference measurement in T4D, from the oldest available observation from a specific date or rolling offset. And all these are going to be good options depending on how you want your project configured. And so if you're looking for like weekly displacements, or if you're looking for from a specific reference date, you can do that. We hit save here. And so if I did maybe from a specific date, we could tell it that I want to display displacements from January 1st, 2020, or even from yesterday. So it's highly configurable, and it's an easy way to just keep track of your displacements and change what that reference date is. For now, I'll just leave everything as the default to make things a little bit simple. And I can go back to the sensors page. Target 3. There are also a few of the things. I have the same kind of scatter plot that we saw Christian showed us earlier from the DAM, and I can also just do a quick view of the charts right here. And so just like the analyses, the charts are just a simple way to view displacement data kind of at a quick glance. They're not super customizable because that's what the analyses are for, but if you just want to do a quick view, say something is alarmed and you just want to come in and check what the displacements look like, you can just come to the charts and it's already automatically set up for all the targets. It's just a quick way to view all the displacements. I have some basic controls up here so I can change what is being displayed by the charts. The date range I can do from yesterday to today, or I can go back more time, say go back a week. There's not data back a week, so I won't go through that and show you all of the blank data, but you can configure that all through here. You can lock the y-axis or you can auto scale the y-axis. It's up to how you want to display it. You can change the refresh interval and a few other things like that. You can also export the current view just as a tabular data to a CSV or to an Excel sheet if you just want to pull some data from T4D web real quick and have it saved on your system. Perfect. So next, I believe Eric is in the audience and he is ready to help us out with a quick alarm demo. So something that Christian skipped in his side of it was kind of the alarming feature of T4D. And so T4D has an automatic alarming feature, which is really nice. For this demo, we're only going to show the web notifications. And so we're going to just see up in here, like we saw really quick earlier, that once the alarm goes off, we'll get a web notification and we'll see the sensor status change. But you can also configure T4D web to use like an SMS server or an SMTP server to send out automated alerts to your email or text to phone. And I think alarms are really important for, first of all, safety of life and safety of your workers. If you're in, say, a mine or a construction zone and you need to know if something's moving to keep everybody safe. And it's also just a really nice way to have custom alerts based on your displacements or based on your velocity so that you can keep an eye on what's going on and the status of the site. So to create an alarm, we'll come to the monitoring page and go to the alarms page. Similar to an analysis, what we're going to do is add a definition, and then once we have an alarm created, we can go ahead and add different different thresholds and different conditions to that alarm. So go ahead and add a new alarm. We'll just call it displacements. And the other thing I'm going to change is the evaluation frequency. This is how often the alarm is going to actually check for new displacements. Because the alarm kind of runs independently of all of the different data sources, there's no way for it to know exactly when data is coming in. So all it really does is check at some evaluation frequency, defined frequency to see how often displacements are coming in or changing. So go ahead and hit save to create that alarm definition. And now that we have the alarm created, we can see we have a lot more options available. If you're going through and creating a lot of different alarms, you can create a copy. You can add custom notification messages and recipients if you have like a SMTP server, SMS server set up. We also have the option to run a batch file or show webcam or anything like that. For now, we'll just leave it simple and blank, and we'll go ahead and add a condition to the alarm. And so this is where we'll go through and configure all of the different information we'll be using. The data type, if we had more than one sensor type in here, like say we had geotech sensors or GNSS sensors, we could see that in the drop-down menu. I can select specific sensors, all sensors of a specific type, or sensors in a group. And this is all to kind of help with false alarm readings. And so if I do all of a specific type, it's going to pull all of the different target positions, and I won't be able to select exactly which sensors. Or I can do of a specific group. When you set up sensors and you have a lot of different data available, you can set up groups of sensors. And that can be helpful for if you have like different sections of your project that you want to be alarmed together. But right now, we'll just leave it at specific sensors. It's going to automatically select target 3 because it's the only one available. The condition type, I can do observation monitor or velocity monitor. Observation is going to be based on displacements. And so this is really nice for construction sites or mines where you expect very little to no movement, and you want to be alerted kind of if it moves at all and if it exceeds a certain threshold so you can know how safe the area is. Or you can choose a velocity monitor, and this is going to be something that's useful for, say, like a landslide. You know something's going to be moving, and you just want to know how fast it's moving and if that velocity exceeds a safe threshold. For an alarm condition, we can only do one column at a time. In this case, I'm going to do 2D data for this specific sensor. I can go to the evaluation, and I can do the latest data available or the average value of a certain number of measurements. And this is kind of to change the sensitivity of the alarm itself. And so the latest data available is going to be the fastest option. Average value or average of latest X values will just make it so there are fewer false alarms, but still reliable data. Just for the sake of speed, we'll do latest data available for this project. And then I can come in and define my thresholds. And so you can have an alarm based on the absolute or relative. The relative measurement is what we defined in the sensor earlier. This is going to be some reference date or rolling offset. And absolute is going to be from the original measurement in T4D server. So we'll leave that at absolute. I can display in meters or millimeters. So I'll do millimeters and just leave it at 3 decimals. Here we can set different thresholds of alarm. And this is really nice for if you have a lot of interested parties on the project and you want them to get alerts at different thresholds. And so the attention threshold could be something like, let's say it's moving 2 millimeters, and this is where I want to alert just the site managers so that they know something might be moving, keep an eye out, just be ready for any sort of action. A warning threshold, we'll set this at something like 3 millimeters for the project. This could be really useful for, say the manager already knows that something is prone to movement, and at this threshold, now they want the geotech engineers to know that something is moving so they can start looking at the data, maybe try to make predictions and see why something is potentially failing. And then the alarm threshold will set this at 5 millimeters, and this can be set to send a text message out to every worker on site to say like, it's starting to get dangerous, you got to clear the site. Kind of just get everybody out of there, kind of a safety threshold. And so I'll get that set up there. And then we'll go to the standard deviation filter. I have the option to enable a standard deviation filter. For this, I'll just keep it at no because we'll only do a single epoch. The no data alarm is really useful if you have a sensitive area and getting no data is just as bad as getting a large displacement. You can enable a no data alarm and say, if we don't get data for an hour, I want the alarm to go off so we know that we don't know where the targets are and we're not sure if it's safe or not. but we'll just leave that at no for now because we should get data in a single epoch. And the trigger threshold, I can tell it to go on any number of the sensors. So if any sensor trips any of the conditions, it's going to alarm. Or if I'm doing a sensor group, I want all of them to have to go before it trips an alarm, or a certain percentage or a certain count. Because again, we only have one sensor, I'll say any, and I'll hit done to create the alarm. When you create the alarm, it's still in disable mode, so you can go through and edit it. The last step is to enable the alarm. And now it's searching for data, and when the next epoch comes in, we should see it triggered. So now what we're going to do is, Eric, if you want to stand up and go to one of the targets to move it, I'm going to go to our setup M1. And this is a setup M1 that is set up in Munich with our colleague Eric. And what he's going to do is move a target for us. So if you guys saw from or if you guys attended the last webinar or remember anything from there, we did a little bit of work in the setup M1. So I'm going to log back into the same interface. And the setup M1 is, for those who are not familiar, it's the controller that actually sits with the total station in the field and controls the total station and sends data to T4D. It has a really handy feature in the new firmware, which is it has a video feature. And so once this total station is ready and booted, I can turn on the webcam and we can watch some magic happen.
Maybe we can answer some of the questions here.
Yeah, there are a few questions.
Yeah, and I guess Eric, you're in the call as well, so you can maybe just, if I don't know, maybe you move the prism for 1 or 2 centimeters of that round. So one of the questions is if you can, for example, just use phase 1 only measurements for the monitoring. So the answer is no. We require 2-phase measurements, and this is simply because of removing the Drunian axis errors. So this is just a requirement. I think this question was from Raleigh. I don't know if I pronounce it correctly. There was another question from Gennaro. If T4D also supports other GNSS receivers. So I assume the question refers to non-Trimble GNSS receivers. The answer is yes. So we have full support for a variety of Topcon receivers, Javad, all kind of competitive products. So this is all supported in T4D. And there was another question from Martin, if we also support a least square adjustment. At least this is how I understand the question. So the answer is yes, T4D supports a least square adjustment. So you can imagine if you combine multiple total stations in one processing engine, so to say, we can adjust all the measurements of every total station together in one flow. So this is fully supported, a very similar question. Maybe it's a combination of the previous 2 questions. If we can also, is it possible to link T4D to a network of GNSS receivers to study the displacements of a city in 3D? It's a question from Youssef. Mm-hmm. So yes, it's pretty similar as what I've just described with total stations. So you can also add multiple GNSS receivers, and we have real-time GNSS engines in T4D and also post-processing engines. And so yes, you can connect all of them, and you get also the displacements in 3D, the height component, for example. So this is possible. I mean, there are different settings, baseline mode, VRS mode, but this is too detailed now. So the short answer is yes, this is supported. And here just another question. So it's not only NetR9 or Alloy receivers that are supported. No, there is, as I said, a big variety, not just of Trimble receivers. So you can also connect even a NetR5, a NetR8, for example, if you want, and also all the other manufacturers I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. So looking at the time, I'm not sure. Have you now? Eric has probably moved the target, I guess. So maybe you can just.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Let's take a look if this is moved.
So I can go and I can turn the webcam on, and I can turn the total station to.
Yeah.
Wrong button.
I would just start the round measuring. Yeah, and
cool.
we trust that Eric was active in his living room and moved one of the targets so that we see an alarm, as Roland said earlier, in the web application. So we will not send any email or SMS now. This is something for later, but you should see an alarm notification in the web application.
Perfect.
Right. So yeah, you see this is this living room installation I tried to describe earlier.
There we go. It's good to see phase 2 is upside down.
All right. Nice.
Perfect. So now we have the.
Yep. Go ahead, Roland.
Oh yeah, I was going to say now we just have the M1 controlling total station and measuring all the backsites and target 3. And so once it sends that data to T4D and T4D processes around, we can see the movement in real time.
Yeah. So before we switch over to me again, the screen sharing, I mean, there is one more question just came in from Stephen. Do you have to use the M1 to make changes to the S8 instrument? So I think this is something we highlighted last time. So the M1 is really a control device. It's not just a communication device, an advanced communication device. It also controls the total station, and that is why if you want to add, for example, a new target to your round, this is something you would need to do via the setup M1. That's correct. Yeah, so then only then T4D receives the observations to this target in the next step. Okay. Do you already see some notification? I'm not sure where the round measurement is.
Not yet. The round just finished, and so T4D is going to go and download that data from the M1. And then once it downloads and processes, which should be in a minute, we will see this alarm go off.
Perfect. Perfect. So what else do we have? Yeah, there's a lot of more questions about supported receiver types, GNSS receiver types. Yeah, I need to have a look. It's specific receiver types. I don't want to. Yeah, let me check this afterwards and get back to these kind of questions here. Yeah, would the setup M1 receive data from the GNSS receiver as well? So the answer is no. So the setup M1 is really designed to operate with the total station. So it controls the total station, as I said, and it makes data available to T4D coming from a total station, not from a GNSS receiver. Right. Yeah. So yeah. Maybe we switch back because I have still a couple of information that also relates to some of the questions here I have seen. Yeah. And yeah, probably the round measuring is still in progress, I guess. And as we will cover the the topic alarming again in terms of sending emails out and as a support of different SMS providers. So this is something for one of the next webinars. Anyway, I think we can stop the demo here. Roland, thanks a lot. And then let's switch back to my screen. So can you see my screen again?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, perfect. So this is just a quick summary again of what we have talked about during the last 55 minutes. So I've tried to give you an overview of the T4D web features. As I said in the beginning, I didn't really go into a lot of details. I highlighted some of the data visualization features like the maps view, the custom view, scatter plot, or how to create an analysis, for example. the composite view, where you can put different charts, analysis, and custom views together so that you have the chance to visualize lots of information on a single monitor. And we also had a look at the account management, right? And Roland nicely demonstrated how you can create a new project and how the sensor management looks like. So basically how you can get sensor data from T4D server into your web project. And now at the end, he also configured an alarm and did a demo on how you can trigger an alarm and what needs to be done. All right, so here there is some more information about available resources. So we have now looked at one of our demo sites. I mean, it's always possible that I can add someone as a, or we can add someone by the help of Optron, that we can add someone as a guest, for example. So if you have some interest in that, just provide me with your contact details, and we can make that happen. There is also a monitoring YouTube channel available where you can find a lot of helpful tutorial videos. There was actually one question in the coming in a couple of minutes ago, if there are also video instructions related to T4D, and this is exactly about this kind of instructions. So if you open the YouTube channel, you will find plenty of short videos, 3 to 5 minute videos that explain certain workflows. Then we also got a question. I think it was, I don't know who exactly asked the question, but the question was how you mentioned there was a webinar a month ago. How do I get the recording and the material of this webinar? So this is something which we have available on the Trimble Geospatial webinars page. So there you can find both. You can find information on upcoming webinars and also recordings on the past webinars. And on the Trimble partner side, there you will also find the slide decks of the webinars. So the one of the last month of April is already uploaded, and I will also go ahead and upload the one of this webinar. And of course, your Trimble distribution partner is always a good resource. So if it's about T4D, a license for T4D, if it's about the setup in one a total station, so please reach out to your Trimble distribution partner. All right, and so now just the last slide. As I said right in the beginning, here's an outline of what's coming next. So we have now covered the connection between the total station and T4D last month. Today we have talked about the web application, mainly focusing on optical data, and we also used the data from the last webinar again. So this was again so far all about optical, and we will do another webinar in June. This will be on June 17th. Our monitoring webinars will always take place on the third Wednesday of a month. So this is why this is on June 17th. And during the next webinar, we will focus on GNSS data. So I guess a lot of the questions we have answered during this webinar were more related to the GNSS piece of T4D, but still, I mean, this is about GNSS and how you can get the data in. We will also talk about the GNSS processing engines I have already mentioned earlier, both in real time and post-processing. And then we have more webinars in July and August, geotechnical sensor support. And in August, we'll come back once again to the web application. And during this webinar, we will cover more features like the logs, the system status, or features we haven't really had the time to talk about today. So that's the plan. And Roland, I'm not sure, is there still any question that came in during the last minutes you think we should or you can answer? Or I'm not sure.
Nothing general enough to cover right at the end here. A lot of these questions I can reach out and answer directly for you guys because I know there's some specifics.
Okay. Yeah.
Eric
Yeah.
Hayes, there we go. So Eric actually was chatting me while this is all going on. He moved the target a little bit too far, and so the total station had a little bit of trouble measuring it. But
Okay,
he's making me the presenter now. We got another round to go through, and we can see it on the web.
Yeah, I think considering the time, I think the reason was if you move the target a little bit too far, considering that we have really short distances. So in this living room, we have distances of 3 meters. So if you move a target by just 1 or 2 centimeters, it might cause or lead into a situation where the target cannot be found anymore by the total station. But this is a different story, I think. I guess you understand how to create an alarm, and I think that's fine for now. Just the last question I can see here: where can we find a list of supported devices, GNSS and others? So this is something we have bulletins and documents available. Either Roland or we will reach out to you. The question came from Francis, so we will provide you with that information. And yeah. So with that, I think we hit the hour. Thanks again for your time. Thanks to Roland for the demo, and thanks again to Optron. And yeah, so we're really looking forward to welcome you to the next webinar in June. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Bye-bye.